Hi there, I'm Michelle.
I'm Jim, and we are
A Teague of Your Own. Welcome to another Motivational Monday.
Let's get motivated.
Woo!
Woo!
Yay! It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is.
It's going up into the 80s.
Yeah, it's going to get kind of warm for us.
Yeah, because, it's April.
It is April. It's been a cool April, and we're finally seem to be turning the corner, getting ready for the warmer heat, and a sure sign of things changing.
Yes.
Yes.
And we, depending on how much rain we get tonight and tomorrow, we could have the wettest April ever.
Yeah, wettest April on record for this area.
Yeah.
Yes, even though there was one April that was wetter, but the weatherman said because the reading was so old, it's from the 1800s, that they don't count that one.
Yeah, the 1850s.
1850s. Yeah. So right now we're at the second wettest April on record here in the Pittsburgh area, and again, depending on how much rain we get, and it doesn't look like it's going to need to be a lot.
No.
We will set the record, and as a result, things are blooming all over the place outside.
Yes.
It really, literally everything. Yeah. The grass is the thickest, I think, greenest.
Yep.
You could have a lousy yard and it would still look great right now.
And the weeds are.
Yeah, and the weeds are just popping like crazy.
Yes, they
so
are.
we got to get out there and get those weeds.
Weeds, flowers, grass, all of it.
But the grass looks terrific. Almost, it doesn't even look real. It looks like a giant green carpet.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, it's crazy how lush and green it is. I've never seen it like this.
Which brings us to our topic today.
Oh, what's our topic today?
Ties into spring.
Spring.
It's been said that spring is a lovely reminder of how beautiful change can truly be.
Yeah.
So when it comes to spring, spring is generally a very stark contrast to winter.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why people enjoy the springtime is because it's not winter anymore.
Right.
So depending on where you live in the country, spring could be, an afternoon of nice weather, or spring could be several weeks long for you.
Right. And when we were living in Florida, it seemed like we were in the Tallahassee area, and winter lasted about 2 weeks, maybe a month.
Maybe.
And it's not winter like you would think of up here.
No.
It would get cold. You would get some frost on the cars. You'd need a jacket. And then it was gone. Yeah. And then you had this long, beautiful spring that would last probably a good 3-4 months. And then summer would show up.
Okay.
And summer was, maybe I'm attributing too much spring to
you
it.
Are.
Yes, maybe my memory is faulty on that one. Yeah. But I do remember summer. And summer in Tallahassee, Florida,
hot.
It was, I used to say that when you'd walk outside, it felt like getting hit in the face with a hot, wet blanket. Yes. It would just smack you right in the face. It was so humid, and the humidity just never cleared. No. And it was so hot. And you learned that if you're going to go outside, you had to go out for a short amount of times.
Yep.
15, 20 minutes, no longer than a half hour. And then you had to get back inside, get cooled down, get hydrated. Usually, though, you were better off if you were limiting it to about 15 to 20 minutes, much more than that. And you're starting to run into some danger.
And up here, spring is very different.
Yeah, here, spring is very different. Spring lasts a while. It tends to be generally very wet, not as wet as we've had this year, but a lot of rain. But you don't get those, gunmetal gray clouds and the cold like you get during the winter. You don't get the snow. Everything just starts to come alive.
It does.
And you also get the critters.
Yes, you do.
I don't know how many birds we have nesting.
We have several birds right now.
We have several, and we know this because they leave evidence of their presence all over the place.
Yes, and we have babies.
Yes, we have babies.
We have bird egg fragments.
Yep, we're finding them in the yard,
Yep.
and so we know they're hatching. I think we might have or had bunnies
Again.
again in the yard, and that's another sign of spring. We get the little animals.
Yeah, if you remember a few years back, we talked about Rosie. She
Yeah.
was a rabbit who we saw in the yard a couple of times, and we shoot her out, and she'd come back and we'd shoo her out, and then she had bunnies.
Yeah, the last time that I was
in the yard.
trying to shoo her out, she had babies right in front of us, and so we left her alone. And
Unfortunately, trying to convince Molly to leave.
yeah, leave the baby bunnies and the rabbit
That's
alone.
hard.
It was tough.
Yeah.
We had to keep Molly away from the
Yeah.
bunnies so they could grow up and then leave, and we got to see them go.
Yeah. And that's what happens in spring.
Yeah, that's what happens in
you
spring.
have these types of
Yes,
changes.
you have all of this. You go from basically, and they call it the dead of winter.
Mhm.
You have so many things that they aren't growing. They're
Mhm.
hibernating, they're waiting. And then when spring comes, boom, it's just life just
Mhm.
blossoms all over the place. And I think that's why, well, for me, I like spring.
Yes.
I love summer as long as I'm not baking half to death.
Yeah.
And I kind of like fall, except for the leaves, because then I have to have my
Yeah.
annual war with the leaves, which I lost again this year. I haven't won yet.
No.
I never will.
That's
There's way more of them than there.
Yeah.
There's one of me, and we've got 2 big trees, and the leaves. I'm still getting up leaves from the fall.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
However, when it comes to spring, one of the reasons why people enjoy springtime is because the weather does get better.
Yes.
You've got signs of life that
Mhm.
are happening. You've got a lot of change that happens
Right.
in spring.
And this change happens every year.
And
It's amazing.
And it's changed for the better. And so one of the things that we've noticed is there are a lot of people out there who don't like change.
Yes, tremendous number.
They don't like change. They think change is bad. They want to stay in their comfort zone. And so my question for them is, would you want winter all the time? Because that's basically what you're saying, is you want to stay where you are. They're hibernating, and with the cold and the low clouds and the snow and the ice and the short days and the long nights and not a whole lot of sunlight. And that's what it is that you want.
Right. And there are some people like that. We call them Alaskans and Canadians.
Yes. The rest of us, on the other hand, kind of enjoy this. We like the weather that we're getting now. We like that there's more daylight.
Mhm.
We like that there's more warmth. We like that things are growing. We like the flowers, the trees, the grass. We like to see the change that's happening. And it's the same in life.
It is the same in life.
You have to go through that winter and then get to spring where the change happens, and you have to embrace that change.
Right.
Especially if you want something to show for that change.
Right.
Which in this case will be summer, when you have things growing rapidly, and that's when the crops start to really grow. We live in a very rural area, so we'll have corn and soybean farms all around us. Plus we have dairy farms all around us. So right now there's a bunch of calves out there, which are just adorable. And when you look at them, and eventually they're going to grow up to be cows and steers, and they're going to produce lots of milk, or they're going to be sold off. And but it's a lot of fun to watch these changes happen. And it's the same in your life.
Right.
You have to embrace the change.
Right. Because we'll all go through these seasons in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand that you're going to go through these seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's seasons as far as, your work life,
mm-hmm.
Your mental attitude, your mindset. And then, of course, the natural aging process.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's amazing how many people just absolutely will rail against those changes. They'll fight against them. And you see these people because you look at them and you're going, okay, you've changed, but you don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to embrace that change. And, that's one of the things that, I've tried to do as things progress is what?
Because you're old.
Well, you could say that, I guess,
You
at this
are.
point. And, rather than fighting against it, embracing it and realizing that things change. I was talking to my brother last night, and we were talking about how, some of the things that we enjoyed doing when we were younger, we just don't find to be that much fun anymore. So we're talking about roller coasters.
Mm-hmm.
I have been a big roller coaster enthusiast for years.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a park around and there were roller coasters, I was going and I was riding every single one of them, multiple times sometimes. Last trip to an amusement park, hit a couple of those roller coasters and looked around a little bit and went, I'm not sure I find this to be all that much fun anymore. And that was a big revelation. And as a result, my desire to, chase roller coasters and find the amusement parks, not really feeling that at this point. I mean, that could change. Maybe it'll come back to me, but, feel like maybe there's some more interesting things to do. And one of the things is, last year went on my first cruise and I absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Thought, now this is fantastic. This is different. And so it may be that, you give up one thing. So maybe it's, at that phase in life where the amusement parks, the other things with amusement parks, you're standing in line for an hour to do a 2-minute ride. That, I don't know. I don't want to do all that waiting anymore. That's the other problem.
And I got to this point a lot sooner than you did.
Yeah, you did.
Especially like at water parks.
Yeah.
I got to it almost immediately where I was just like, no, not going to stand in line for this. But it's a matter of, is my time worth it? Is my time worth waiting here for the benefit that I'm going to receive when I get to the head of the line and get to go on the ride?
Right.
And most of the time for me, the answer is no. So like at water parks, you will find me at the wave pool. You will find me at the lazy river because I can instantly do whatever it is that I want. And
and you would usually find me at the latest and greatest, Bombay door opening slide, give you a mega wedgie.
That you're waiting 45 minutes to go down in 30 seconds. Yeah.
And you'd find me doing that just because I find that stuff fun. And water parks still don't bother me.
Yeah.
It's the amusement, it's the roller coasters that are the big issue. I just don't like being banged around like that.
Wooden roller coasters are more involved in that than
the steel coasters. Yeah.
I get it.
But yeah, it's the whole experience. You walk around, you're getting all sweaty and standing in lines, and I don't know. I think maybe I've had enough of that. And that's a season of change. That's what happens, and it's a beautiful thing when you think about it. That we do change. That our preferences, develop differently, and we reach that point where something that we, absolutely positively wanted to do, when we were younger, or did when we were younger, that now we're suddenly going, no, I don't know that that's going to be as much of a priority for me. And you find new priorities.
Yep. Well, we have a values exercise that we run people through when they're working with us. And one of the things that people will ask is, will my values change at some point in time in the future? And the answer is sometimes yes, sometimes no.
They can.
But yes, they can.
They can.
And usually it's because there's been a shift in something that's happened in your life.
Right.
There's been something that has caused a major shift in your priorities, and such as, getting married, having children, having grandchildren. I mean, it's just usually there's something that has shifted in your life that has caused you to shift these values.
Right.
And so, yes, it can happen. The same happens like when you retire, or If you lose loved ones, you will see a shift happening then too, because of some of the major changes that are going on in your life. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
All it is it's an opportunity for you to look and say what's important to me at this point in time.
Right.
And that's what change does, is it forces us to take a look and reevaluate what's important to me right now. And always make sure that you're following your values whenever you're making these major decisions, changing things, but also look and see, are these values still important to me like they were several years ago?
Right. And you'll find that, what was important to you when you were in the spring of your life, which is, I think we always think of spring as being when you're young. It's when you're growing, you're learning. For a lot of people, you get to that range between 18 and 25, and physically you're at your peak, which is a tough thing to realize sometimes. You hit a certain age, going, God, I was all the way back then.
Yeah.
Wow. You're at your peak physically, and what you enjoy doing then, because sometimes there's a lot of people in that age group, they just feel invincible. And for a lot of them, they are. It seems like they can take chances, they can do things, physically, and they're okay. Whereas doing the same sorts of things physically when you get older, you got a problem, as I have found out multiple times.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, we should record all of that. It'd be like, what was that? The ridiculousness.
Oh yeah.
Some of the stuff I've done. Boy, it's a shame we didn't have a camera. I'd been on TV for that.
You would have.
I would have. You learned that your body can't do the same things that you did, at certain ages that you could do when you were 18, 19, 20. And so I've had to learn that the hard way. Hopefully you learn that by watching people like me doing it the hard way. Yeah. That's the best teacher, somebody else's experience.
And that's true. I mean, experience teaches you a lot. Other people's experience can teach you even more.
Yes, at a much lower cost.
Yes, because that way you don't have to go through it.
But you have to understand that as you're moving through the summer of your life and then into, where I guess we probably are, the fall of our lives. It's not the winter yet. No, don't you even say that.
No, it's not.
Not yet. In the fall of your life, you now realize that, it has changed. What your priorities have changed.
Well, and you, like you said before, you can also have changes in your career.
Yes.
When it comes to your career path. And what I'm finding, and it's interesting we're talking about this because Betty Novak, she and I do Coffee with Two Coaches, where we've been talking about career changes and how there are people who, like, when they're in their 50s and their 60s, they decide, I want a new career.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
And they do, and they make this wholesale change. And your career life doesn't necessarily match up with your age life.
Right.
It can be very different. And so you could be in the very early stages, the spring stages of a career, and still be in your 50s or 60s.
Right.
Because you decide to take a different path and make changes in your career path.
Yeah, happened to me.
So when it comes to changes, it's not something that's written in stone that, when you're at a specific age, you're going to be at a specific point in life. It can be very different depending on what you're looking at.
Yep. You got to pick your own path.
Yes. But the changes are going to happen.
But the changes will happen.
And one of the things that we need to remember to do is to embrace those changes.
Right. Because it's inevitable. It's going to happen. Changes aren't permanent, but change is. Yes. And the people who succeed, the people who thrive, they not only understand that change is going to occur, they embrace it. And they look at changes as they come, especially things like, we're looking at technology and that kind of stuff. Figure out ways to embrace it as opposed to fighting against it and saying, I don't want to learn that. I don't want to learn new systems. Why? If these new systems can make your life better. And I realize that's not always the case. Sometimes we've seen this happen where something new has been introduced in a workplace and it is not only worse, it's much worse. Yeah. And sometimes you have to hope, or hopefully you are the leader who says this isn't working. Let's go back to what
Yeah.
we were doing and then see if we can find something
Yeah.
else. Because it happens.
Yeah.
It does happen. And it's admitting that this didn't work.
But change is always going to be there.
Change is always going to be there.
And so the idea is to remind yourself that change can be good.
Yes.
Change leads to better things.
Right. And embrace it.
And do that.
Arms wide open.
Yes.
Yes.
So if somebody needs help doing that, if
Yep.
somebody needs help figuring out what's going on with change in their life, where they are, what they can do better,
Mhm.
who could they contact?
Us.
Yes, they could. And how could they do that?
Well, they could send us an email.
Okay. And what?
And info@ateagueofyourown.com is right there on the
Right
screen.
there. Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
You can also text us,
Mhm.
and you can see the phone number there, 412-420-7975.
Yep.
If you're old-fashioned, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm old-fashioned. I'm old-fashioned.
You are old fashioned.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks. My wardrobe sometimes looks old-fashioned.
He got off the fashion chain.
Long time ago.
Yes.
I like what I like. You can call us and we'll talk to you. It's amazing. Some of us do actual carry on phone conversations. So
Yes.
again, same number, 412-420-7975.
Mhm.
You can also contact us through our website,
Mhm.
ateagueofyourown.com. Right there.
Yep.
Hey, that's good. You're good.
Okay, good.
Wow. You you can also contact us through social media.
Mhm.
So we're on Facebook,
Mhm.
we are on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and we are on Instagram.
Yep. And like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that way you'll have access to these
Oh,
fabulous
like and
videos.
subscribe to everything.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, just like everything that we do.
That's a good kind of change.
We would love that, and that is a
We
good
would.
kind of change, and we would definitely appreciate it, and it would help us.
And let us know what kind of changes you're going through.
Right.
Put a comment in there and let us know when it comes to change. What are you going through right now? What's the spring looking like for you when it comes to change? And do you need help with any of it? So let us know. All right, we will be back next week.
Yes, we will.
Figure out what quote we're going to talk about next week, and I probably have something to do with May because.
Yeah, it'll be May.
It'll be May. Yes. So we will see you then. Have a great week, everyone.